We're starting today's ghost town adventure in Pitkin County, Colorado, and as you can see, some very scenic driving to our first ghost town of Independence. We are in Colorado visiting some ghost towns today, and wow, is it beautiful out here. We are in Independence, that's where we're starting the day, and it's kind of down there behind me, and they got some signs here kind of talking about the history of Independence, and so yeah, let's learn about it and go check out some of the buildings. Gold was struck here on July 4th, 1879, thus how it got its name of Independence. 1973, this was listed on the National Register of Historic Places. So after they struck gold in 1879, reports reached over to Leadville, where some earlier prospectors had retreated following hostility from the Ute Native American tribe that had led the governor of Colorado to issue an order barring any European settlers from crossing the Continental Divide. Despite that, settlers came to this community, and it became the first European settlement in this valley. Miners worked out a primitive government called a mining district to protect not only their claims, but those of others who had retreated to Leadville. By 1880, there was 150 people here with some buildings replacing the original tents. In 1881, a group of investors from Leadville bought up all the mining claims around the settlement and established a stamping mill and a sawmill. A stage road, the predecessor to what we drove in on Highway 82 there, was built from Leadville over the Continental Divide, with a trip from the city to other mining towns further down the valley taking 2 to 5 days. Independence was also an overnight stage stop. So 2 years after gold was first struck, at about 500 people in Independence, at 7 restaurants, 24 retail establishments, saloons, and a local newspaper. Over the next 2 years, the mines produced $190,000 worth of gold, $6 million in 2026. Despite this economic boom, it lost its bid to be the county seat over Ute City, which later was renamed Aspen. And the town continued to grow. 1882, it had 1,500 residents, 47 businesses, and that proved to be the peak of the town. Gold production dropped to just $2,000 in 1883, and miners and other residents began leaving Independence for Aspen as it had a bit of a milder climate. Yeah, you can see this was the kind of main street. We got some remnants here. By 1888, the town's population declined to 150. Later that year, the first railroad reached Aspen and greatly reduced the stage traffic over the divide. Finally, in the winter of 1899, multiple severe snowstorms cut the town off from the outside world for a long period of time. Residents ran out of food, and when another big storm hit, all but one person decided to evacuate. They tore siding planks off their houses, used them as cross-country skis for the trip down the valley to Aspen. They had a little resurgence of prospecting in 1907, but by 1912, the village was completely abandoned. After it was listed on the Register of Historic Places, the Aspen Historical Society and other groups worked with the U.S. Forest Service to restore some of the log cabins, build this little path network, and add interpretive signs. See where Independence is, and we're going to go through some winding roads there on Highway 82 over the Continental Divide. That's that green line. And we're going to go down here through a couple of unincorporated communities, which we'll check out for just a few minutes before heading to our next ghost towns. We're not going to stop here, but this is the unincorporated community of Twin Lakes. It's named that because of a couple of glacier-carved alpine lakes here. So this area, Twin Lakes District, has been listed on the National Register of Historic Places since 1974. There's some interesting buildings here and a couple of hotels if you want to stay here. And here's another unincorporated community that we're not going to profile here, but thought I would just pass through it on our way to our next ghost town. This is Granite, Colorado. Began as a mining camp in the 1860s after gold and silver were discovered in the surrounding mountains. It's located along the upper Arkansas River here. It quickly grew into a supply center for nearby mining districts and reached a population of several hundred during its peak. The arrival of the railroads in the 1880s helped support local businesses, made it an important stop for travelers and freight. As mining declined in the early 20th century, the town gradually shrank. And so today you can kind of see what is left, kind of a interesting little unincorporated community. Coming off the map on the page there on 24, we're going to head west, and you see Vicksburg, Rockdale, and Winfield. Those are going to be the next three towns we're going to check out. That was a difficult drive. It is a very rocky road here. And I think we found where we're going, Vicksburg. Be the first one down this road that we'll check out. So let's learn about Vicksburg. Doesn't work. Big mirror over there. So I guess those are privately owned cabins there. Maybe they're more modern built, and these are the old stuff. So there's two museums to look through, but looks like they're locked up for the season at least. Yeah, it's a rough looking museum if it's one. These just look, I'm old and fragile. I know the feeling. I don't think I'm gonna look in the outhouse. All right, well, that's kind of interesting. Let's mosey on down the road, see what else we can find. So on my map it says Rockdale right here, And yeah, Rockdale is an appropriate name for this road. But it also says Crescent Mining Camp. So maybe it's one and the same. Let's see what we can find over here. So it's property of the United States right there. Kind of like when we were in Independence, it had signs like that. A little marker on the side here. Rockdale, Silverdale. Constructed in 1881. Foundations are buried under Beaver Ponds. Rockdale Mine and Mill Site was located at the junction of Lake Fork and Clear Creek, circa 1880. I'm guessing these are still a little more modern, and the creek goes down that way. So the mining camp was here, and then the mining happened down by the creek. So old Rockdale, lots of rocks. All right, we got one more town to try to get to down this rough road. Well, we made it to Winfield, and I'm definitely not disappointed. Got plenty of stuff to check out here. Winfield was founded in 1881 during the silver mining boom era here. It's named after General Winfield Scott. The town quickly became a thriving mining community, serving the rich silver deposits of the nearby Clear Creek mining district. At its peak in the mid-1880s, Winfield had a population of around 1,500 people. Pretty amazing to think there were 1,500 people up in this area. However, declining ore production and the collapse of silver prices following the Panic of 1893 caused the town's economy to unravel. Most residents moved away in search of new opportunities, leaving Winfield largely abandoned by the early 1900s. The Seldom Inn. That's pretty funny. A lot of really interesting things to see here, and I also met someone that is hanging out in town.
Fifth generation from 1881, and I'm just getting ready to turn it over into a trust with some other younger family members, so I'm kind of putting together the history of the cabin, so you're here at a good time.
So Harry Payne was one of your relations?
Yeah, I'm finding out that my information is incomplete. That he was the son of the superintendent of mining ore.
Okay.
John Greenleaf Payne. But you can go inside and check it out.
Thank you. And you just stay? Do you stay here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just opened it up for the season, so.
Gotcha. Very cool.
There's a cemetery up the road here, maybe a quarter of a mile.
So a gentleman told me there's a cemetery a ways down this road, so we'll take a little walk. We'll save the tires on the Jeep, and hopefully we won't see any bear. Oh, there's where their saloon. So he was telling me this
It's all managed by the kind of park service area and kind of keep it all reasonably well maintained. Big campground here. People do a lot of hiking. Believe it or not, he's getting ready to hike that. He's 80 years old. He's kicking my butt. Said a quarter of a mile, it feels a little farther. Maybe it's because I'm walking so slow. Okay, so I see something now. 25 members of early day mining community, Winfield, lie buried in the solitude of this tiny graveyard. Some died at birth, others of child diseases, a few violently by gunfight, avalanche, explosion, fire, and lightning. Frederick Odd was the first to be buried here in 1885. Well, it seems like an appropriate place to end this video. Interesting day. You know, Independence was on a road that you could drive pretty easily to, even though certainly the switchbacks and all the way up to the pass at 12,000 feet was scenic, and obviously you got to slow down on some of those places. But that was cool. You know how it was more laid out, a little more touristy, I guess you'd say. These last three here on this drive are not touristy. You got to want to go to these three, and especially up to all the way to Winfield here. But I was surprised with how much stuff there was. I thought there might not be much at all here at the end, but there's the most at this place. And they have old school there. They have the cemetery, which is fascinating. And yeah, just a really interesting day exploring these ghost towns in Colorado. You know, Colorado has so many ghost towns because of mining. You could, spend all day, every day searching for them. And sometimes there's roads to them, and sometimes there's bad roads to them, and sometimes there's no roads at all left. So anyways, really interesting day. Hope you enjoyed it. A lot of times I get asked what the t-shirt I'm wearing is. So at the end of the video, I'll start doing that. Support local. It's Kansas, so if you're watching this from Colorado, I'm sure there's one that has like a Colorado one too, but I like this shirt. Always support local. So I end up hanging out and talking to the guy here for a while, and it turns out that he was a discus thrower at the University of Oregon back in the late 60s. And I'm an old track guy, athlete and coach, and I was just at the University of Oregon. And so it was pretty interesting hearing him talk about Steve Prefontaine and all the great athletes at that time when he was around there. And so, yeah, it's kind of a crazy deal. Drive all the way out here on this crazy bumpy road, and the one guy that's here through track at Oregon, or through discus at Oregon. Oh man, that's pretty awesome.